Hey guys, how's it going? It's Khan, and in this video today we're going to be taking a look at 5 reasons why I think you guys should have God of War on your radar, or why you should start getting hype about it. And these are pretty much the 5 reasons why I am really getting excited about God of War, and with it being right around the corner and reviews set to be released very soon, I think in the next couple of days or maybe even tomorrow, you guys are going to be able to get back into the saddle as Kratos, and there's going to be some serious changes to the game. So if you've been under a rock or you haven't really been paying attention to God of War, you don't really even know what the game is about, maybe you never even played it, then you're in the perfect place to find out 5 reasons why you need to get hype, or at least put God of War on your radar. So let's get started. Check it out. Let's talk about God of War 2018. Let's go. So God of War 2018 is going to be coming out on April the 20th, and if you are completely unaware about God of War as a series or a franchise, you need to know that God of War is pretty much one of Sony's biggest franchises that they had coming off of the PS2. It was a really huge franchise going into PS3, and now that it's finally coming to the PS4, I'm really kind of hype about it. It was always one of my favorite games way back in the day, next to Onimusha and Devil May Cry and stuff like that. So I kind of like those hack and slash type games, and God of War was always one that never disappointed. It always kind of just went bigger and harder like every time. So there's going to be, you know, quite a few things about this new God of War that, you know, I think are really important. And if you have never played a God of War game, then there are a couple things that you might need to know about it. First of all, Kratos in the original God of War games, Kratos of course is the main character. Kratos was in Greek mythology. He was fighting within the Greek mythology, so he fought Zeus and Hades and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to ruin the story for you. You can find out about it, or you can go and play the games if you want. But what you need to know is Kratos, number 1, is a total badass. Number 2, he kills a lot of stuff very violently, and he kills gods and stuff like that. And yeah, he's a total badass. He doesn't really die. He really doesn't die, and he has an awesome voice, like really awesome. I'm kind of jealous. All right, so moving on to like the 5 reasons why I think people should get hype about this new God of War. Number 1, I'm gonna say, is probably gonna be the story. It's kind of a reboot. Like, the whole thing is a bit of a reboot. Kratos is now in Norse mythology. He isn't in the Greek mythology anymore. And the 2 characters that make his axe are the same kind of dwarven characters that were the guys who made Thor's hammer. And Kratos now has a new family. Not to get too much into spoilers, he had a family before, but I'm not going to talk about that. But he has a son, and that son is going to be an integral part of the game, because he's going to be part of the, you know, gameplay. And one thing that I really thought was kind of cool about it was, as Kratos has gotten older and as the whole narrative and story has changed, the story is more heavily pushed towards family. And you know, a lot of us gamers, especially those of us who hang around my channel, I know a lot of you guys are family, like have a family, and you know, our dads and stuff like that. So this whole thing with Kratos and you know, the whole dynamic of family, not only with father and son, but you know, mother and son, and even brothers together, the 2 dwarves, like I said, who make Kratos' axe, which is his new weapon. They're brothers, and you know, their dynamic is also kind of a thing. And the whole overarching story about it is, you know, Kratos is really trying to figure out how to connect with his son. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of us have had issues with our families where we may not see eye to eye with our parents or whatever, or we may not understand things as we were younger, and then as we get older, maybe our kids don't, you know, really understand things. So it's kind of cool that they're having this real kind of moment with games and with gamers, and I think a lot of people might be able to kind of connect with some of those things, and it may, you know, just make the story a little bit more personal and feel a little bit more personal for some of us, and those, you know, who may be younger and really don't understand, you know, why is, you know, my father such a dumbass. You might be asking yourself those kinds of questions, and maybe I highly doubt it, but you know, you might see a different bit of a perspective from somebody older than you, maybe thinking about things a little bit differently, and maybe not understanding the kind of world that you live in, which Kratos moving from that Greek world going into this Norse world. Maybe he don't really understand everything. I don't know. Reason number 2 to get hype about God of War 2018, the combat. So the combat for God of War has always been one of those things where it was always fast paced. You had the chains and you would swing them around. And then he had a couple other weapons later on in other games, like with the sword and then like those boxing gloves that he had. Those things used to be fun. But anyway, so the combat in the game is supposed to be a lot different, especially now that he's not using the chains anymore. At least they're not spilling any beans on whether he's going to have those chains again. But he has an axe now, and I talked a little bit about that. The guys who made Thor's hammer are going to make his axe. And getting on to some other things in reason number 3, but the axe is supposed to be like, you know, this new weapon that he's going to have. And the other thing about the combat is that his son, who, you know, I talked about before in the story part, is that you'll be able to control him in some ways. You'll be able to tell him what to shoot, where to shoot, and other things like that. So you're not just running around with some AI kind of bot that doesn't know what it's doing and it's always shooting the wrong thing. So like if you get in trouble and maybe you want to tactically do something, hopefully you'll have a bit more control over the son to tell him, hey, I want you to attack this and do that, and then maybe you can plan to do something else. And I think that's pretty cool that they're doing it that way. Supposedly, from what I've heard, there are no quick time events. Like that was kind of a big thing where you had all of these super long drawn out quick time events. I don't know if that's 100% true. I might have to check in that again, but from what I've heard, I've seen a couple people say that the quick time events are kind of gone, but that may just be the button pressing and button mashing where you just have to press the button over and over again. That might have been a misquote. But one other thing that I did hear was that there is no more jumping. There's no jump button. So before in the God of War games, they had a double jump and you could double jump and do air combos and stuff like that. But that stuff is going to be gone, and pretty much replacing all of that is going to be a much harder hitting game. The camera's kind of been pushed in, so you're going to be hitting like really like hard with that axe, and it's going to be a bit more in your face and kind of brutal. And God of War has always been a very brutal, violent game, so I'm wondering like how far they're going to push it in terms of that. And I'm pretty sure people are still going to complain about it, but a lot of people are going to love it. So number 3, moving on to the third reason why you probably should be getting hyped about this damn game by now, is the customization. There's actually a video that came out today. You're probably looking at some of the footage from it, of the actual customization of the axe. Now, we talked about the axe and how it was going to be made by these dwarves in this Norse mythology. And the axe is you're supposed to be able to change the head of the axe, the handle of the axe, your son's abilities, and even some of your special abilities, so that you can kind of customize the game to be what you like. So if you like fighting a little bit more at range with the axe and throwing it and using it like that, you can do that. If you want to upgrade your shield, which you also have, you'll be able to do things like that. And yeah, there should be different kind of abilities associated with the axe. And then I think you can upgrade or change some of the abilities that your son will be able to do. Like you can stun them with the arrow, like a stun kind of lightning type arrow looking thing. There's also like this freeze blast that slows enemies down. There's also ways that you can make sure that the axe hits harder. There's just a lot of customization throughout the game, and you'll probably have different armors and stuff that you can wear so that you can get through the content the way that you want. And I think that's pretty good. It adds a little bit of replayability. I haven't really heard anything about like, kind of extended content going on with the game after the initial story, but I mean, I guess that waits to be seen. But having a bit of customization and being able to play through things the way that you want. And God of War was one of those games where I remember playing the first God of War and playing it through on the normal and the hard, and then getting onto the really hard difficulties and playing through, and it was a lot of fun. Like there were always these Easter eggs and secrets throughout the God of War game. So looking at the customization, you never know, there might be some special skins that they have in the game for doing really hard challenges. And there's also supposed to be side quests and things that you can do. Even though it's not an open world game, there are like some side dungeons, I guess, looking things where you can fight side bosses and maybe unlock some other things that could be really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the customization is like with that. So number 4, the next thing to get hype about is that it's actually like one of the best looking games like for the PlayStation, and it's really going to push the hardware. Now that really might seem like, why would you get hype about that? It's a beautiful looking game. I mean, you can't really fight about that. It is going to be a much closer camera, so like I said earlier, you will be thrown into the action a bit more. That could be good or bad depending on how you feel. Me personally, I don't really like those super close cameras because I like to see what's going on around me. But if it helps with the immersion and really pushes the way things that they think they should, then I'll give it a try. But I hope maybe that you can have some adjustment of that. But it's supposed to push the hardware, and from all of the footage that I've seen, especially the 4K stuff, it looks amazing. And I really want to see how far they push it. There's a lot of stuff going on, environments breaking down and things like that, and damage taken to the enemies. And like I remember there's one where he threw an enemy against a wall and like the parts of the wall kind of broke. So there's a lot of stuff that's pretty cool about it, especially for the PS4 that's going to be really pushing it. And then the next thing is that, the PS4 Pro is supposed to get a performance mode, which means if you have a PS4 Pro, it's supposed to run smoother. It didn't say anything about having 60 frames or anything like that, because I think it's running at 30. But at 4K, it's supposed to run smoother. I don't know what that means exactly, but hopefully we can find out. And hopefully, fingers super crossed, it will run at 60 frames at even 1080. I'd settle for that. I'd settle for being able to play it at 1080 60 frames than playing it at 4K 60 frames, because I'm pretty sure the PS4 can't really push that. But if it could, that would actually be really awesome. But being able to know that it's going to push the hardware really makes me look forward to what's going on with The Last of Us 2, because I'm pretty sure Naughty Dog is pushing the hell out of the hardware with that, and I know that game is going to be beautiful as well. So Sony, I'm sure, is going to take care of the system and make sure that it looks great, it runs great, and it really pushes forward for us getting probably ready for PlayStation 5, but we'll see how that goes. And number 5, the last thing that I'm kind of hype about this game for is the amount of content. Supposedly, one of the designers played the game, and to 100% complete it, it took him 43 hours to beat the game like 100% complete. And that sounds like a lot of damn game, especially when you consider that this dude, is part of the development crew, and he knows the game, and he has played the game or knows a lot of things about the game. The fact that it still took him 43 hours to get through the entire game 100% complete means that it'll probably take my goofy ass I don't know, well over 100 hours to get through it. And I don't want to super rush through it, but I want to enjoy it, and I want to make sure that it is something that you guys also enjoy on the journey with me if you decide to go ahead and play this game as well. The game is still going to have a lot of puzzles, and it's like I said, it's going to have those side quest things where you'll have like side dungeons or whatever with extra bosses that you can fight. Hopefully there'll be some other content that'll come along throughout the lifespan of the God of War game. I'm pretty sure they'll probably try to do something, but you never know, they might not. But I do hope that they do have some add-on content for it in the future, because I do like the God of War IP. I think it's a really good IP, and I have a lot of fond memories playing God of War 1, 2, and 3, and even the PSP stuff. And yeah, God of War was always a really great game. So if you've never played God of War, like seriously, if you've never even played God of War, it's gonna be one hell of a ride. And like I said, it's gonna look great. The combat is gonna be different. The story is gonna be different. There's gonna be a whole lot of new stuff. It's kind of like a soft reboot in a way, but some of the events from the old games still do persist in the story. It's just a whole different place, and it's going to have a whole new dynamic where you control another character and still do your character. And I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a whole lot of fun that can be had with it, and we'll see how it goes. If you're hype about God of War, be sure to hit that like button down below and let me know what is it that you think is the #1 selling point for the new God of War games. And are you hype about God of War? Are you thinking about getting it? Let me know down in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do what you gotta do, and then I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy. I'm Con, and I'll see you. Peace.